Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, yes, the title is correct. This is genuinely the most fun I have had playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In since Master Duel has come out. Since the very beginning of the game. Legit. I thoroughly enjoyed this deck. Even my losses had felt fun and interesting, unless it was just entirely cockroach. But hey, what can you do, right? Let's talk about this deck. So this is Tri-Brigade Sprite. This deck specifically utilizes the mechanic, or the fact that Tri-Brigade Kit as well as Kairos are level 2s, as well as them going into multiple level 2s, or Link 2s, sorry, such as the Ferrigit and the Berbrum, to add these two decks together that have both been kind of engine pieces in various different decks, and have been top tier themselves, to basically make one amalgamation of good cards. Also, there's a million limit 2s in this. I just noticed. It's kind of weird. I don't like it, but alas, Konami hates actually dealing with problems. So there you go. So let's quickly go by card and explain what this deck does. So starting with the Tri-Brigades, we have 2 Nerval. That's right, 2 Nerval instead of the maximum 3. The reason for this is because it's not as good as drawing Kit itself, and so you just want to send it off of Kit. Since Kit is the level 2, we're playing 3 of this. We're also playing 2 Kairos, that's pretty standard, and of course the double Fractal. We would play 3 if we could, as well as the triple Tenki. It's just so nice. This is the best starter by far. It just gets pieces into the graveyard. It's great normal summon. It's big attack. I don't know why this card is absolutely insane. I do not know how Konami printed this, but it's fine. And then moving on, we have our... Oh, and then, of course, the 1 Revolt as well. Moving on to the Splite engine, we are playing the triple blue, double jet, and 1 apiece of red and carrot. The reason for this is because we want to cut down on the amount of sprites that we are seeing, because we also have access to other 2s through things like the Tri-Brigade engine. So we don't really need as much. Blue is just absolutely crazy, so you always want to draw that. Jet is nice, but it's not as good in non-pure Splite builds, so it's better to cut it down a little bit. And then, of course, the 1 piece of the negates. Then, of course, we are playing the Nimble Beaver package. The reason for this is because, guess what? It's a beast. I'm also playing the 1 Angler because you can technically pitch it with Foolish Burial, and so that's basically it. You can also send it off of Berbrum if you end up drawing it, which is pretty cool. You can send it to the graveyard and then special summon back one of your monsters and then get 2 additional beavers, which is really cool. And since Beaver is a beast, it just synergizes ever so nicely. And then we are, of course, playing as well the double Sprite starter and the 1 Smashers to kind of round out that Splite engine. And then for the hand traps, we're playing triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, and triple Infip. Honestly, Nibiru is probably worth playing as well. A lot of people have been comboing off and stuff like that, but I feel like these 3 just happen to hit the most, and that's basically why we're playing it. They're just the best ones for going second. I guess Gamma would also be nice to play as well, because you could Gamma something and then have an additional 2. The problem that I see with that is mostly that it's a bit more of a dead card, whereas Infip is not, and that's the biggest thing. So yeah, I chose these 3. Ghost Bell is also a good option. Basically any hand trap right now is pretty good, besides the standard. And then, of course, we're playing the double Called By and the 1 Crossout. You could also play additional Crossout targets, so you could play the 1 Infip, the 1 Valor, and the 1 Nibiru or something like that, if you really wanted to. I am because we actually are playing a lot of Splite stuff as well, it's worth it to just, you'll see in one of the replays, I end up sending Carrot because I'm well, I want my thing to go off, and this is the best way to do that. So, honestly, cross out having Splite cards is good enough, right? You can even cross out a Nimble Beaver, which is funny. And then, of course, we have ourselves the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, and the 1 Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is great. You can send Nimble Angler, or you can send Kit like normal. As for the extra deck, we are playing 1 Mannequin Cat. Guess what? When all of your opponents are also playing Splite, it seems pretty good to play Mannequin Cat, because you just get a Splite card yourself. It's great. We have ourselves the 1 Gigantic as well. Yes, we're only playing the 1, and yeah, it comes up occasionally, but there's that. We're playing 1 Almirage and 1 Lightheart. Lightheart actually never came up. It almost came up once, but then it never did. Honestly, I think this is the most cuttable card. You could cut this for the 2nd Sprite Gigantic. You could cut this for the 3rd Elf. Honestly, Elf just is absolutely crazy. You could cut this for Avermax even. There's a lot of different things you could cut this for, but if you want to play it, you can. I never had it come up. We have the 1 IP Masquerena, the 1 double Dragon Lords, 1 Feathercheat, 1 Bearbrum, and double Elf. We have, of course, then the 1 Unicorn to make off of the Masquerena. We have 1 Rugal, 1 Apollosa, and double Shuregg. Honestly, I would play 3 Shureggs if I could, but yeah, extra deck space is a little tight. Yeah, technically you could cut this for this, but honestly, it only came up once that I actually needed the second one, so there's that. But this deck is incredibly fun, and I'll show you some replays. Let's hop into this. Alright, so here we are going second. Now, obviously, this deck is adept at going second because the engine pieces are just good at playing through multiple interactions. And we are up against Branded. Now, Branded was the best deck prior to Splight coming out, and honestly, it's still a very strong deck. I think in a lot of the tournaments we have seen that Branded can still win. Honestly, it wins a lot, and so we'll see how we can do against this. I do have the Infip, but I'm going to try and save that for actually the opponent's turn, because I'm like, honestly, they have the comedy. There's not really a whole lot that I can do here. So out comes the Lubellion. They're going to activate the effect of the Lubellion, and they're going to pitch themselves the comedy, and I'm like, yeah, you can go off. The reason we are keeping the Infip is because it actually does interact pretty well during the opponent's turn, especially given the Harpy's Feather Duster. So I see them set a card, and they didn't end up actually activating the Mirror Jade, so I'm like, okay, that's obviously Branded in red, and we draw Karos, which is fantastic. Obviously, we're going to start off with the Harpy's Feather Duster. They're going to activate the effect, and they're going to go for the Branded in red. They're also going to go for the Mirror Jade here in order to use its effect so that they can actually go into the Dragastapelia. Now, Dragastapelia is very good, and one of the reasons why Branded can still compete, being able to make a monster a level 1 is wildly impactful in the current metagame, so there's that. They're going to bring back their Mirror Jade, and I will promptly negate that one. Why am I not negating the Dragastapelia if it changes my monster's levels? Because this banishing a card is way more impactful. With this, we still get the monster, which is still nice. You could still use a whole bunch of stuff with it, so it's just significantly better to do the opposite. So we're going to go for the Fractal here. We're going to dump the Kit. Kit effect is going to dump the Nerval. Nerval effect is going to grab up a Kit. And then we're going to normal summon that Kit so that we have access to a level 2. Now, they don't immediately shotgun the Dragastapelia, which is a massive mistake given that they immediately target the Kit. And I'm like, huh? So we get ourselves the Jet, and at this point the game is basically over because they don't really have anything to do. So we're going to grab up the Smashers. We're going to link off 2 in order to go for the Elf. And then we're going to use the Elf in order to bring back the Kit that we did not use. So, yeah, that's why you either shotgun it or you just wait for me to actually activate the effect. So, yeah, I don't really know what they were doing there. We're going to go for the Gigantic Sprite here with the Elf, and the reason we do this is because we want to be able to walk over this Mirror Jade. So, yeah, that's basically what we're doing here. So we're going to banish 2, and we are going to special summon out our Feathercheat. Feathercheat is then going to special summon out our Fractal, and then we're going to link those 2 off into a second Elf. Why? I don't know. And then we are going to actually draw into Nimble Beaver off of the Feathercheat. We're going to banish another 2, and we're going to go for our double Dragon Lords. This will then spin away the Dragastapelia, and at this point we can go now and lock ourselves into a level 2, or the 2s, and we're going to bring out the Carrot so that we can negate the Branded Fusion or what have you. We're going to walk into their monster and deal a whole bunch of damage and then pass the turn. We also get to set the Smashers and have Nimble Beaver as a follow-up, which seems pretty decent. My opponent is going to go now, and I think they realize that the game is basically over because they're going to normal summon Fallen Volbas, activate the effect, I'm going to bounce it, and they realize, yeah, I can't beat that. They can see it. Alright, and here we are going first, so let's see how we can do. So we drew Kit as well as Jet, so that's pretty nice. We also drew Fractal, which is kind of okay, but it's not great. We're going to dump the 3rd Kit, and we're going to activate the effect of the Kit in order to dump the Nerval. Nerval is going to add the Karos. We're then going to activate the Karos. Okay, no maxi. Whew. Okay, we're going to activate the effect of the Karos, and we're going to banish 2 in order to go into the Feathercheat. Feathercheat is then going to special summon the Kit, and Kit effect is going to activate in order to special summon out the double Dragon Lords. Then we will summon out the Jet and grab the starter here. We're going to then link these 2 off into Elf, and then we're going to activate the effect of our, we drew the 2nd maxi, which is kind of funny. We're going to go and then summon back our Kit, link those 2 off for the Bearbrum, and then we are going to Xyz using the Link monster into Sprite. Gigantic Sprite. Why can you do this? I don't... Who designed this? I don't know, it's cool. Anyway, we're going to activate the effect, and we're going to actually send the Bearbrum to the graveyard to summon out the red, so now we can actually grab up our Revolt. I'm going to put the starter back, and we're going to set the Revolt and pass. Now, notably, I'm actually kind of locked on zones, so I kind of need to actually activate the red, as well as bounce something before I can actually do anything, so there's that. They're going to go and activate their Runic Destruction. Okay, never mind. Turns out they're playing Runics, so... Whoops! Anyway, out comes the fountain, and legitimately at this point, all I have to do is save my ancient warrior's oath for the fountain. So that's all I'm doing. Out comes flashing fire. I'm going to activate the effect of the elf. They're going to also freezing curses it. That's okay, because now I get a free warrior's oath. So I'm just going to bounce this, hope that they don't have another quick play spell. And they set a card and pass. Alright, fantastic. Had they had another quick play spell, I think I just lose there. They gain a whole bunch of advantage, and they're probably able to play from there. But yeah, that was basically the only play since I went for red there. I probably should have gone for carrot, but not knowing what the opponent's playing, I think red is just a safer bet. It also stops, like, the Hugin or something along those lines, so you can negate that, and then you're fine. So, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to go for the Fractal, which we drew off of the top, and at this point, the game is over. Out comes the Sure Egg, and my opponent concedes. Good game. Alright, here we are once again going first, and hey, look, Maxi. We drew more of the Tri-Brigade half of the deck, but that's okay. We will activate our Fractal. Out comes the Ash Blossom. Of course, I'm going to call by this. I kind of need this to resolve. And let's just hope that they don't have the Cockroach, okay? Out comes the Kit. We're going to dump that to the graveyard, dump the Nerval to the graveyard, and then activate the effect of the Nerval, and we'll just grab up the Karos. Then we are going to normal summon Kit. Why am I not activating the Karos effect? Well, because I like Kit a little bit more. I think it's a little bit better in this situation because it allows us to go into the Ferrigit and then special summon out the Karos. So it's kind of the same thing, but just, yeah, grabbing a second name there. We're then going to link off into the Spiked Elf, and we draw a starter here, which is pretty decent, but the starter will go away anyway. Because we're going to go into the Bear Rum, link those away, or sorry, exile those into the Sprite, or Gigantic Sprite, and then we're going to summon the red and do basically the same thing that we did last time, and I'll also end on a Maxi. The only difference is we don't have the double Dragon Lords, so it's a little bit worse, but yeah, it should be fine. My opponent is going to go, and they are going to activate, or they're going to normal summon Ellis. We are going to activate the Cockroach. They will have the Crossout Designator for it, and I go, sure. Out comes the Stella, and then they activate Zexal Field. If you have never read this card, don't. It's absolute garbage. I do not know why they're playing it. It literally just doesn't do anything. They're just going to attach from their own extra deck the Asfiel, which literally doesn't do anything. They're going to go to battle, and they're going to walk over the Sprite red, and yeah, oops. And then they also banish the Elf. At this point, I still can't really activate the Revolt, and I actually end up misclicking here, but you'll see. So they're going to go Mika here. They're going to add the packs from their deck to their hand, and then they're going to make Zeus. Odd choice, but okay. They're going to set 2 and pass. Sure. Sounds good. I don't know why we didn't Zeus immediately, but sure, whatever. I draw Foolish Burial, which kind of doesn't do anything, and then I activate Revolt. I was trying to click the extra deck here, and I was going to make Spite Elf with these two in order to then have access to the Revolt so we could Revolt. But turns out I actually made the right play, and you will see why in a second. So we're going to go for the Rugal here, and then we were going to activate the effect of the Nerval and the Kit in sequence, and they will activate their packs. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. That doesn't actually interact the way that I think you want it to, but that's fine. We're going to grab ourselves the Kit as well as dumping a Nerval. And then we get to go for Apollosa! Yay! We're going to switch everything to attack position just in case they have something that they want to Zeus here, right? Had they Zeus to try and deal with the Apollosa, we could negate that, and then we could still walk over the other monster, so that's why we put the Spite, or the Gigantic into attack. Anyway, we're going to negate the Zeus here. It was going to attach another material, and if it did, that's just terrible for me. So we're going to go Kit here, which will summon out the Sure Egg. They will activate their Zeus, and I will negate that, and then I will promptly deal with their back row, which is a Returnia, which is not good for me. Or it wasn't good had it existed. So we're then going to link off into the Elf and grab up Nimble Beaver, because of course we can do that. We're going to bring back the red, we're going to bring out the blue off of the Gigantic Sprite, and then we're going to grab up the Jet. Jet will activate its effect in order to grab up the Smashers, and then we will Exile summon it into, that's right, Mannequin Cat. Why am I going into Mannequin Cat? I don't know, because big. Like, legitimately, there isn't really a good reason. Anyway, they're going to go and proceed to battle. I'm going to, before they do that, bring out the Kit. They actually decided, or they took a real long time deciding what to attack there. Honestly, there isn't really a good option. You get to attack the Apollosa, but honestly, that doesn't really do anything because it's kind of dead on the field. Gigantic Sprite doesn't really have anything. I guess you get to attack red because it's in the gate. Dealing with Elf is pretty nice because Elf could just, like, bring back the red, so it's not really, like, you could do that. Mannequin Cat's kind of a threat. Kit is definitely a threat because you could just, like, banish forward and go into Sure Egg, so it's just, like, there isn't a good option. You just lose. Like, this game is already over. They're going to go for the Irene here, and at this point, I'm like, okay, I'll just deal with it. We'll just banish it with the Gigantic as well, and at this point. I actually do a little bit of trolling because I wasn't counting numbers and figuring out how I could do this. I also forgot that this locks you into only using Beast Warrior and Winged Beast monsters as link material, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll just link this off, link off the Appaloosa. Whoops, I didn't. Anyway, we're gonna banish this guy, and then I link these two off to make IP Masquerade, and I'm like, oh, whoops, I'm stupid. Anyway, we go for the Nimble Beaver here, and I'm like, I think I can make lethal. I don't know. I think I messed up there. I don't think it would have mattered realistically, but yeah, that was a mistake for me. I just wasn't counting how much life points they had left, so there you go. Whoops. And this was probably the most fun I had in a long time. As you can see, we don't really have anything for going second, besides Harpy's Feather Duster, which is pretty good. But, like, these are all, like, going first cards. And my opponent immediately starts with Carrot into blue. And I'm like, oh, hold on. If they end on some set cards, we can go Harpy's Feather Duster, bait out the Carrot, then we can negate the Carrot with our Crossout Designator. Depending on what else they end on, that might be enough. And I see Swap Frog. I actually was playing on my phone at this point because I was like, yeah, go off. And I look up and I just see a Swap Frog and I'm like, why are we playing this card? Here's the thing. I understand wanting to play this card because that's what we played in the OCG, that's what we played in the TCG, but the reason we played it was to get to Toad. After Toad was banned, we stopped playing it. Why? Because it's not very good, right? Now, granted, we still have access to, like, Ronin Totem, as you see here, but it's still not really worth it. Yes, you do get access to additional 2s, but there are so many other better 2s. Tri-Brigade is a better option. Live Twin is a better option. Runic is a better option. These are all 3 better options for just, like, playing additional cards. If you really want to, you can play Pure with just, like, more hand traps. And since we have access to Maxi is an extender itself, which is why I don't think it's really worth it to play the Swap Frog stuff and why I don't play it. It's a personal thing. You can play it if you want. It's still a good extender. I just think, like, it's better to play more hand traps or more, like, interactions. Anyway, a small little tangent. They're going to bring back Pixies. What the heck? Anyway, out comes the Ronin Totem, and they just, like, clog their zones for no reason, and then they don't do anything with it. They're going to set to 2 and pass. I don't know why we aren't playing, like, I don't know, Gin Buster, why we didn't try and go for that, why we don't go for, like, Mannequin Cat, why we don't go for, like, I don't know, there's, like, a million different cards that we could, like, Onibi Mario here would be significantly better than whatever this is, so I don't know, just weird amalgamation of cards that they have put together. Anyway, we're going to start off with the Harpy's Feather Duster trying to deal with the back row. They're going to go for the Carrot, they're going to send away the Ronin Totem, and out comes the Crossout Designator. As I mentioned earlier, here's the play, right? It's really cool that I am able to, cross out designate the Splight stuff. And this is one of the reasons why I like this card much more than Called By. I think it's really interesting in, like, a mirror match where you're like, oh, I'm playing the same cards as you. Let me just deal with that. But I can also, call hand traps. I can also kind of, like, deal with stuff that way. And it's only for that turn, right? So I'm losing an entire card. You still get the card. And it's not really dealing with it in any meaningful way. And it's only for that turn. I think it's a cool card, and so, yeah, I will always say, just put this to 3, ban Called By, and we're good. Anyway, my opponent is going to bring back the blue, makes sense, and we are going to negate the Carrot, banishing it, to deal with their 2 back row, which happen to be a double Imperm. As you will see here, it's just 2 Imperms, and I'm like, well, that was pretty good. So they're going to go for the blue here, and they're going to grab up the Jet, and I'm like, okay, how can I lethal? I can't quite lethal, or it's more like, okay, how can I break the board? So we're going to go and start off and just send the Nerval since we already have the Kit. So we're then going to normal summon Kit, and we basically just have to deal with the red here at this point. So we're going to grab up the starter because they, for some reason, allow this. And then I'm going to activate the Kit. We're going to banish 2, and they are going to negate it with Pixies. Now, this is a huge mistake. You have to use either your Gigantic or your Elf, because if you don't, I get to keep the monster on the field, and that is just way too much advantage, and you will see that here. So we're going to go into the Elf here, and then we're going to activate the Kit. Kit will dump the Nerval as well, and then we're going to bring back the Kit again, and then we are going to use the starter here, because I don't really have any other plays. But that's fine, because now we can go blue into red, and we're going to special summon the red, and then go and Xyz into the Gigantic. Gigantic is then going to detach it to go for Karos. Karos, notably, we have not used yet. So we're going to use the Karos in order to go for double Dragon Lords, and then Xyz into Mannequin Cat. So the reason that I do this specific play is because double Dragon Lords allows me to spin a card, and it gives me disruption on the opponent's turn, which allows me to break the board, because I can spin back the Gigantic Splight. Mannequin Cat is also able to punch over over either the elf or the red, and then we have the gigantic to punch over the other one as well. So you'll see that we're gonna walk over over both of these, we're gonna walk over everything except for the gigantic, and then we are going to spin a card away by dumping this Karos. So we're gonna spin that away, and then our opponent is basically left with one card. We have the called by for the jet, and yeah, basically at this point the game is over. My opponent concedes. Honestly, that was super interesting from like a. Well, the connection failed, but I think it's super interesting being able to break boards with mostly engine pieces. As you saw there, I did have the Harpy's Feather Duster, which is just a stupid card, but most of that after that point was just me building a board to break my opponent's board, which was very fun. So we're back with the deck, and yeah, honestly, of course, Tri-Brigade, Sprite, my two favorite decks mushed together, is going to be the most fun I've had in Yu-Gi-Oh! In a long time. Yeah, I'm not really surprised. But what I am surprised about is just the absolute enjoyment that I personally have had with this format. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, because not everyone enjoys this style of dueling. Like, for example, not everyone enjoys like having all of their stuff or like having like recursive boards or like elf just in general. Like I could totally see why you don't like that. I could understand if you don't like the concept of Splite, but for me, I think that it is a lot of very interactive games. It never seems to be just like an end board of like a million negates and you don't get to play the game. It's especially with like runic stuff, it's a lot more of like managing resources, and you get multiple turns, and it's like, all right, who is going to be able to play through what board? And it's a lot of like building boards and then breaking boards and then rebuilding boards and stuff like that. And it makes it very fun back and forth. I think more so than we've had in previous formats. Specifically in the TCG, it was way worse prior to this, but I don't think we've really had that many terrible formats in Master Duel. I think most of the formats have been enjoyable, besides when Runic like first came out, and some of like the stun formats with like Eldritch being the best deck and the like. But most of the formats I think have been fairly fun, so that's nice. Besides this card, of course. If this card was gone, oh my goodness, it'd be so nice. But alas, I like it. As you saw, we never used this. We did use this. This always comes up. But we never used this one, so I don't know. You could cut it. You could keep it. You could. I think playing like another Xyz would be very nice. Like I think another Gigantic would be very cool. So you could put like Fetterjeet under it if you needed to, or like the double Dragon Lords just to like boost up and punch for a bunch of damage. There were a few moments that I did need something like that. So there's that. But other than that, very fun deck. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, I like us very much. I appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.